Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 12th, 2022 legislative session of the Salisbury City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and at this time I'll read a brief statement in case there is an emergency. If there's an emergency this evening, please leave the council chambers in an orderly manner. Make a right-hand turn, go to the end of the hallway and down the stairs. Should that exit be blocked, please make a left-hand turn out of the council chambers, then a right-hand turn to the end of the hallway and then down those stairs. Please do not use the elevators if there is an emergency. If you need assistance, please ask and it will be provided to you. And before we get started, I would like to welcome a guest this evening. Mr. Bunky Luffman is here as the acting county administrator. Welcome. Good to have you here. Please rise now and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'll call on Pastor Greg Carlson of Park Seventh-day Adventist for our invocation. Pastor Carlson, good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Heath. It's good to be here with you on behalf of the Park Seventh-day Adventist Church and the Hands and Hearts Ending Homelessness Men's Shelter. We wish you all a Merry Christmas here in the city building, all the employees, and our county too. Good to have the representation. It's good to see 222 almost over and looking forward to a better 23. Let's bow our heads. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to come together in this council chamber. For the men and women here, the decisions they make, we pray for your wisdom, your providential leading as they make decisions to better the city of Salisbury and the surrounding community. Thank you for the year past and the year to come. May it be a prosperous one for all those in our jurisdiction. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Have a great holiday. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the legislative as printed.
So move.
Second.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to remove the presentation of and approval of the FY22 audit.
We have an amendment proposed by Mr. Boda. Do I have a second to that amendment?
A second.
Ms. Jackson seconds the amendment. First, we will vote on the amendment, and then we will vote on the main question. All those in favor of the amendment as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. The legislative agenda, or the amendment, is approved by a vote of 4-0. I will now call the main motion. All those in favor of the consent agenda as revised, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. The amended legislative agenda is approved by a vote of 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Ms. Jackson, Mrs. Gregory. Mrs. Nichols, good evening.
Good evening. There are 3 items on the consent agenda. All 3 are manufacturing exemption requests. The first one is from Machining Technologies, Inc. for their equipment purchased in 2019. And the remaining 2 are requests from Cadista Pharmaceuticals, Inc. The first one for equipment purchased in 2020 and the second one for equipment purchased in 2021. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And the chair votes aye.
Thank you.
The consent agenda is approved by a vote of 4-0. Thank you, Mrs. Nichols. I'll entertain a motion to approve the award of bids.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Boda, who was the second? Ms. Jackson. Mrs. Miller, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. We have 2 items on the agenda tonight. The first is where the Department of Procurement seeks the approval of City Council to award the following procurement. This is for RFP 22-106. This is the solar photovoltaic generation system. It's not specific to any one department, obviously. This is a benefit to the entire city operation, but it does intend to reduce the amount of electricity that we need from our standard contracts or Delmarva Power by about 30%. So this scope of work is for the design, permitting, construction, operation, commissioning, maintenance, financing, and potentially the decommissioning for a turnkey on-site solar photovoltaic electric generating system at the wastewater treatment plant. We put proposals out on April 5th, 2022. Proposals were opened on May 11th, 2022. We received 2 proposals. The highest ranked proposer was Empower Energies from Bethesda, Maryland. Just wanted to call to your attention again, this is a 20-year term contract. The initial year rate will be 7.8 cents per kilowatt. There's a 2% annual escalation thereafter. This is a net metering system intended to provide about 30% of the wastewater treatment plant's annual electricity needs, and the panels will be domestic, not foreign production.
Questions or comments? The only comment I have is, having been through this process myself for another organization, I think it was very well negotiated. I think that since it's covered for installation, maintenance, and just taking it apart when it's all done,
Yes.
it's a great project, and I think another example of how we're trying to help the environment. So, great job, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll now call the motion. All those in favor of the award of bids, please signify by saying aye.
There's a second item.
Oh,
I
I'm
just have
sorry.
One more.
One more.
So this one is for what we call a Tier 6 change order. I'm going to just skip down real quick to the municipal code that requires that we bring these to council. This is section 2.32.085, specific to change orders. City council approval is required for any change order for a contract that has an original award amount in excess of $100,000 and which results in a cumulative increase of the original contract of 20% or greater. So this is for the Department of Waterworks. The original scope of work, it was under RFP 20-103. That was the Laboratory Information Management System. That was a software, licensing, and support solution for the wastewater treatment plant, which includes the analysis, calculations, chain of custody, everything that I mentioned in your packet. That original vendor was Labtopia from Houston, Texas. The amount of this change order is $8,400. So the original contract sum was $149,472. That was back in May of 2020. So this change order for $8,400 plus change orders prior to that will bring the total contract value to $197,075.80.
Questions? I have one. This is essentially a software
Yes.
package.
Yes. And the change order is for extra time, support services. I think, did I put in your packet the whole thing from Labtopia, what it will cover?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, let's see, it looks project management work. There's a whole overview of scope change request on their page 1.
Yeah, So, starting the project, we've added, since the start of the project, we've added change orders in the amount of $39,203. correct?
Correct.
And then another 8,400.
Yes.
That's pretty significant on an original quote. What was the reason for the extra time, do you know? I don't think I saw that in the,
I was hoping that somebody from the Waterworks would be on the
Connie
Zoom
is on the
today.
line if you want her to comment.
Okay.
Connie, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is going to integrate with a few software programs we have. Our SCADA that runs the plant. It's going to pull data from that, and then our laboratories from our in-house laboratory, that data, and do a lot of math calculations. So it's really intricate. It's taken forever. But part of that is we changed integrators for our SCADA software in the middle of all this. And then they were coming online, and there's been a lot of back and forth. And then also our city IT is involved. And there was some changes to our network as for security reasons for the whole city. And that kind of made some things slow down too. So unfortunately, it's 3 different groups of software people that have to integrate together. The city, our SCADA, and then this lab system. So it's very tedious. And it is moving forward. We've seen some product out. It looks really good. It's just kind of tedious, and it's taking a lot of time.
okay. I guess my suggestion would be if we're going to deal with a similar item in the future, maybe we should look at somebody else, because that's a ton of, whether it's integration or whatever it is. Let me also say we have no choice now. But 34. A huge percent increase. Okay,
It's at 24%.
24%. That's hefty. Any other questions? All right.
24 books.
I'll now call the motion. All those in favor of the awarded bids, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Reluctantly, the chair votes aye. The awarded bids is approved by a vote of 4-0. Thank you, Mrs. Miller.
Understood, and thank you.
16%.
I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2759 for the second reading.
So move.
Second.
Ms. Jackson, Mrs. Gregory. Mrs. Boucher?
Good evening,
Good evening.
everyone. Ordinance number 2759 is before you for second reading. There have been no changes or amendments since first reading. Oh,
Question.
let me actually, if I may, let me read the summary.
Okay.
An ordinance of the City of Salisbury amending Section 1.16.100 of the City of Salisbury Code entitled Waiver of Fines Authority to Issue Citations, Violations, and Penalties, repealer to add the categories of persons with the authority to issue citations for municipal infractions, and further amending Section 8.04050 of the Salisbury City Code entitled False Alarms and Violations and Penalties, to clarify departmental responsibilities specific to false alarm fees and citations. And as I previously mentioned, again, this is before you for second reading. No changes or amendments since first reading.
Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2759 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2759 is approved by a vote of 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2760 for the second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Boda, Mrs. Gregory,
April. Jackson.
April. Sorry, April. Ms. Boucher.
Ordinance number 2760, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving an amendment to the FY 2023 general fund budget and the grant fund so as to further appropriate funds for redesign of the Salisbury Zoo's Andean Bear exhibit. This is before you for second reading. No changes or amendments since first reading.
Questions or comments from the council?
Good to see this get through. I guess it did make it through to the Board of Public Works.
Great. Good news. Okay, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2760 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2760 is approved by a vote of 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2761 for the second reading.
So move.
Second.
Ms. Jackson, Mrs. Gregory. Ms. Boucher.
Ordinance number 2761, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Wycomico County Health Department and approving a budget amendment of the FY 2023 general fund budget to appropriate funds received from the Wycomico County Health Department in the amount of $10,000. This is before you for second reading. No changes or amendments since first reading.
Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2761 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2761 is approved by a vote of 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2762 for the second reading.
Second.
Mr. Boda? Ms. Jackson, I got you that time. Ms. Boucher.
Ordinance number 2762, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Title Health for the purpose of accepting sub-grant funds in the amount of $62,500. This is before you for second reading. Again, there have been no changes or amendments since first reading.
Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2762 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2762 for the second reading is approved by a vote of 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2763 for the second reading.
So move.
Second.
Ms. Jackson, Mrs. Gregory, Ms. Boucher.
Ordinance number 2763, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to amend Chapter 2.12 of the Salisbury City Code entitled Department of Infrastructure and Development for the purpose of removing the authority to enforce the city fire prevention code from the Director of the Department of Infrastructure and Development. This is before you for second reading. No changes or amendments since first reading.
Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2763 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2763 is approved by a vote of 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2764 for the first reading.
Second.
Mr. Boda, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Boucher.
Ordinance number 2764, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving an amendment to the FY 2023 general fund budget and the grant fund budget, further appropriating funds for the operation of the 2023 Maryland Folk Festival. Whereas the city wishes to hold the inaugural Maryland Folk Festival in September of 2023 to celebrate our community's rich artistic vibrancy and diversity by offering unique experiences to express cultural traditions through music, dance, food, crafts, and other folk arts. And whereas funds in the amount of $675,000 will be needed to cover all facets of festival operations, including but not limited to staffing, production fees, artistic fees, equipment, staging, and lighting. And whereas the $675,000 in expenditures for the Maryland Folk Festival will be offset by a variety of revenue sources, including but not limited to sponsorships, donations, grants, and on-site revenue collected through alcohol and merchandise sales. And whereas the appropriations necessary to execute the purpose of this grant must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council of the city of Salisbury. The ordinance reads as follows. Section 1, the city of Salisbury's FY 2023 general fund budget be and hereby is amended as follows. Increase revenue for account 01000-69810 for account description current year surplus in the amount of $162,500. And then increase expense for account 91001-599105 for account description transfer special revenue fund by that same amount, which is $162,500. Section 2, the City of Salisbury's grant fund be and hereby is amended as follows. Increase revenue for account I'm struggling with my numbers today, I apologize.
I got you. Go ahead.
10125-456124-XXXXX for account description sponsorships amount $353,000. Increase revenue account 10125-456-400-XXXXX for account description donations by $72,500. Increase revenue for account 10125-456-123-XXXXX, account description vendor revenue by $22,000. Increase revenue for account 10125-469-110-XXXXX, account description transfer in general funds by $162,500, and increase expense 10125-XXXXXX-XXXXX for account description operating and other various by $610,000. Did I get that right, Jack?
Got it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2764 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2764 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2765 for the first reading.
So move.
Ms. Jackson, Mr. Boda. Ms. Boucher.
Ordinance number 2765, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to amend Chapter 1, the International Building Code, Section 15.04.020 of the City of Salisbury Municipal Code, granting the authority to require a new certificate of occupancy and inspection for any change of use, group, owner, or tenant, and to clarify fire safety provisions regarding the fire marshal's enforcement powers. Whereas the ongoing application, administration, and enforcement of Title 15 Buildings and Construction of the City of Salisbury Municipal Code demonstrates the need for periodic review, evaluation, and amendment. And whereas the mayor and city council may amend Chapter 1504 of the Building Code pursuant to the authority granted in Section SC 2-15 of the Salisbury City Charter and Section 12-501 of the Public Safety Article of the Maryland Annotated Code. And whereas the mayor and council find that the health, safety, and welfare, general welfare of the citizens of the city will be furthered by amending Section 15.04.020 of the Salisbury City Code to require a new certificate of occupancy and inspection for any change of use, group, owner, or tenant, and to clarify fire safety provisions regarding the fire marshal's enforcement powers. Pursuant to this ordinance, Title 15 of the Salisbury City Code is hereby amended by adding the bolded and underlined language as follows, and I will track for you the new language of this particular section, which is 15.04020. We are adding a new subchapter G, which is line 43, which reads, Chapter 1, add Section A, 111.1.1, change of use group owner or tenant. No change in use group owner or tenant of a building, structure, or land shall be permitted wholly or in part until a new certificate of occupancy has been issued by the building official certifying compliance with applicable parts of this chapter and other applicable state and local laws, ordinances, and regulations. This provision shall not apply to a change of tenant for an R2, change of owner or tenant for R3, or change of tenant for R4 structures. We are also adding subsection H, which follows and says, add section A, 104.1.1, fire safety provisions. The fire marshal or the fire marshal's authorized representative shall enforce all fire safety provisions of the code. Where references to fire safety provisions in this code indicate the term, quote, building official or code official, end quote, they shall be construed to refer to the fire marshal or the fire marshal's authorized representative. In any conflict of opinion concerning fire safety of a structure, the decision of the fire marshal shall control. In all other matters relating to structures, the decision of the building code official shall control. The fire marshal shall be responsible for the final technical interpretation of all fire safety provisions within the code.
Questions or comments from the council? I know we have one.
Yes, I got some, a couple. So I had a couple of phone calls last week about this, and so got some questions. I sent an email, I just forwarded it to you, Andy, because I think I didn't include you initially. But there's questions, and I know that they're excluding certain types of zone residential, but what about some of the other residential zoning, such as, I guess, larger apartment buildings? And also mixed-use situations where you have commercial on one or two floors and then apartments on the top. If they have a change in tenant, are they going to have the fire marshal come down and certify occupancy as well?
I'm not sure, Andy, are you able to answer that?
It wouldn't apply to any occupancies where there's sleeping units, so it's apartment, townhouses, duplexes, doesn't apply, only to the commercial area.
Only to the commercial area. Are we able to maybe look at adding some language to specifically distinguish that? Just so that it's clear, because 20 years down the road, somebody else might interpret it differently.
Sure, that's fine. Allow my office time to speak internally with the city, and then I will make some revised edits and put it back on the agenda for the next.
For the second reading,
Yes.
Second reading as
Perfect.
as amended, okay.
yeah. And if you can get the information to us before the meeting, that would help. Okay,
We can make that happen.
perfect, thank you. You okay with that? Any other questions?
Yeah.
All right, I'll call the motion then. All those in favor of ordinance number 2765 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2765 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 4-0. I will make a note about the amendment for the next reading. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2766 for the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Gregory, Ms. Jackson, Ms. Boucher.
Ordinance number 2766, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving an budget amendment of the Water Sewer Capital Project Fund budget to remove an appropriation for the Parkwell Field Project. Whereas the Finance Department has determined funding from investment interest and bond proceeds for the Parkwell Field Project included in ordinance number 2576 should be funded from other sources. And whereas the Water Works Department has determined there are available funds for the project in FY13 bond pool in Project 50031, Restore Parkwell Field. And whereas a budget amendment as provided herein must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council of the city of Salisbury. Section 1 of the ordinance reads, the city of Salisbury's water sewer capital project fund budget is hereby amended as follows. Decrease revenue for project Parkwell Field, account 96015-456-110-50022, with description investment interest in the amount of $127,000. Increase revenue for project unassigned, account number 96017-456-110-99999, for description investment interest in the amount of $127,000. Decrease revenue for project Parkwell Field, account number 96017-469-312-50022, for description debt proceeds by the amount of $48,000. Increase revenue for project Belt Press, account 96017-469-312-55018, for description debt proceeds in the amount of $48,000. Decrease expenditure for project Parkwell Field, account number 96217-513-026-50022, for description construction in the amount of $175,000. Increase expenditure for project unassigned, account 97030-513-026-99999, for description construction by the amount of $127,000. And finally, increase expenditure for project Belt Press, account 96317-513-026-55018, for description, again, construction by the amount of $48,000.
Questions or comments from the council? I just would like to recognize the work of our finance department again, being very conscientious when it comes to debt and use of amendments to the general fund. They've done a great job over the years, so very well handled by the accounting area. Okay, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2766 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2766 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2767 for the first reading.
So move. Second.
Mr. Boda, Ms. Jackson, Ms. Boucher.
Ordinance number 2767, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the General Capital Project Fund budget to replace funding from bond proceeds for the police communication project with PAYGO from the GOB roof project. Whereas the City Finance Department has determined funding from investment interest and bond proceeds for the police communication project included in ordinance number 2653 should be funded from other sources, and whereas the Procurement Department has determined there are available PAYGO funds to replace the previously assigned investment interest and bond proceeds for the police communications project from the GOB roof project. And whereas the budget amendment as provided herein must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council of the city of Salisbury. Section 1 of the ordinance reads, the city of Salisbury's general capital project fund budget is hereby amended as follows. Decrease revenue for project police communications, account 98017-456-110-48033, for description investment interest in the amount of $15,054.54. Increase revenue for project unassigned, account 98017-456-110-99999, for description investment interest in the amount of $15,054.54. Decrease revenue for project police communications, account number 98017-469-312-48033, for description, debt proceeds in the amount of $10,674.12. Increase revenue for project Public Works vehicles, account number 98017-469-312-48034, for debt proceeds for the amount of $10,674.12. Decrease revenue for police communications, account number 98017-469-312-48033, for debt proceeds in the amount of $13,048.34. Increase revenue for project bond issuance for account number 98017-469-312-99998, for the description debt proceeds by the amount of $13,048.34. Increase revenue for project police communications, account number 96017-469-313-48033, for the description PAYGO in the amount of $37,620.54. Decrease revenue for project GOB roof for account 96017-469-313-43029, for description PAYGO in the amount of $37,620.54. Decrease expenditure for police communications, that's the project, account number 98017-577-030-48033, for description equipment by the amount of $1,156.46. Increase expenditure for project Public Works vehicles, account 98117-577-025-48034, for description vehicles by the amount of $10,674.12. Increase expenditure for project bond issuance, account number 98117-588-900-99998, for description bond issuance cost in the amount of $13,048.34. Increase expenditure for project unassigned, account number 98117-513-026-99999, for description construction in the amount of $15,054.54. And finally, decrease expenditure for project GOB roof, account 98117-577-015-43029, for description buildings in the amount of $37,620.54. Whew. That was a mouthful.
Very good. Questions or comments from the council?
I think next time it's going to be the accountant that put that together has to read it.
Yeah.
We have to change the charter. I don't think we can do that. So. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2767 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2767 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 4-0. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Boucher. We are now, is there any public comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Administration comments?
Sure, I've got a couple announcements. This past week, we had our Santa's Workshop. That's done by our Housing Community Development when we pass out toys. We had over 300 people participate in that this past Thursday, so that was a huge success. Also, last Friday was our first inaugural Santa's Village and Jolly Trolley Tour out of our Riverfront Games Park, all decorated up. We had 100 participants participate in that, and we're doing that again this Friday from 6 to 8. Also tomorrow, we're all invited you out to the Truett Street groundbreaking for the expansion of that facility. That is at 2 o'clock tomorrow at the Truett Street Community Center. And then this Saturday from 1 to 3 at Y High is the Vulnerable Populations One-Stop Shop. That's going to include free food, vaccines, community resources, and some language support. So a lot going on. Excited holiday times.
Fantastic, very good. Council comments, Mr. Boda?
Christmas season, the bark is here. It's very good.
Yes, help yourselves if you're here.
I've done plenty of testing tonight, so it's safe. Other than that, just I hope everybody's getting into the holiday spirit, and if I don't see people between now and Christmas, Merry Christmas.
I have some concerns for the housing issues in our community, in our city. I've had several calls within maybe a week or two, and I kind of tried to digest it, to get some information. And we have like single parents now with housing issues of like paying anywhere from $1,000 to $1,800 for housing, where the parents, the single mothers, single fathers, are going out having to work 2 and 3 jobs to make sure they are housed properly. Then you have some issues where you're paying $1,000, and I'm going to say this because it's coming from my heart, and I mean, and I've said it for so many years, that you have houses that are being rented for $1,000 when you can walk in the front door and be out the back door. They're uninhabitable for people to be living in, and I don't understand for the world how somebody or anybody could charge people for housing that they wouldn't live in themselves. It is really disheartening. And if we don't hurry up and do something, we're going to have a lot of homeless, more people on our hands, because these people cannot, and these are young ladies who are stressed to no end because they don't know what to do. It's either now to them like they're a house, going to work, feeding their kids, or clothing their kids, making sure the kids have the things that they need, the necessities that they need, and they're struggling. Anytime you have an apartment with 3 bedrooms, and you're charging, or 2 bedrooms, and you're charging $1,800, some of them I've been in, and they're not worth probably $600 or $700. Something has to be done. Maintenance work is not being done in these apartments. They're putting work orders in, and a lot of them are not being taken care of. Something needs to be done. If I'm going to pay $1,800, if I'm going to pay $1,000 for an apartment right now, I want to live, and I want to be able to live decent. No, maybe some of you will say $1,000 is not a lot. But for some of these young ladies, yes, it is. Because the economy here, and we don't have the jobs to fund these young people the affordability to afford a lot of these houses. So we need more affordable housing. And I know that we have the Here is Home program coming in, but this is a desperate need immediately. Something needs to be done, and I won't say it enough. These young ladies are crying. They're calling me crying because they don't know whether they're going to be able to afford. They know they can't afford it. So what's the next move? Another homeless family. So I'm just pleading with the city. I'm pleading with the landlords. I'm pleading with the realtors. Please be mindful. Just be mindful that people need places to stay and decent places to stay. And then again, I want to continue to talk about safety during the holidays. If you're shopping, please make sure that someone is with you. Make sure your doors are locked. Make sure you keep your packages where no one can see them, because they are breaking in cars. They're doing a little bit of everything, and they're robbing people. So I just want you to be safe. Just be secure with your surroundings and everything. And I would say happy holidays, but it's not that. And I'd like to thank, this is what I really like to do. We had a senior dinner and gift giveaway the weekend. We had over 279 seniors and young adults. where we fed and had a lovely time. And I'd like to thank everyone who played a part in it, whoever donated, who sponsored, whatever. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the young adults and the youth that came in and just worked and did just what they needed to do. They knew what to do, and they did it. And it was a phenomenal weekend. Michelle, thank you so much for coming out. And Michelle, I know her fingers were numb because she wrote Christmas cards, but I thank you so much for all you did. And I thank everybody else, and everybody have a good evening.
Michelle?
I just want to remind everybody that as we're getting together with our family members, please make sure you've got your COVID booster and your flu vaccine, because the flu is going around, RSV is going around like crazy, and that is no joke. It will put you in the hospital with a quickness. Please, please, please go get whatever vaccinations you need so you can have a safe holiday, and make sure you keep your family and loved ones safe as well. So just please go get your boosters.
Thank you, Michelle. Since our councilwoman Angela is not with us tonight, I want to, for her, instead of second it, I will make a plea for blood donations. We are still, as a state, extremely low, but we're not the only ones. I saw there was a national picture of a map, and I think it looked like the whole map was pretty much covered with red in terms of the other states as well. So if you're healthy enough, please give blood. I want to recognize our councilwoman for her great work on this weekend. The pictures were amazing. Everybody looked like they were having a blast, and it's a good thing. And I agree with you relative to the housing situation. And the only thing, it's sad to say, but you can't depend on individuals to do it. The only thing that's going to reduce the prices that the people are paying now is competition. And that's what Here's Home is designed for. And when that comes on board, I think we're going to see a change. And that change is going to force people to have more availability to choose from, and which will drive the prices down. That's what happens when you get competition. And the last thing I have is, everybody here is welcome to come up and have a piece of bark. And we will see you next week, which is the week before Christmas, the week of Christmas. So everybody stay safe, watch out for each other, and be kind to each other. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.